comments. Plus, we'll bring you today's play of the game. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
First pitch, he swings, hits it in the air, deep down the right field line. This one way back, gonna go! A birthday blast for number 30 on his 30th. A 3-run homer to put the Padres ahead in the top of the 9th inning.
Gavin Sheets providing the big swing to cap a furious 9th-inning rally for the Padres on this Thursday as they win the rubber game of this 3-game series in Colorado by a final score of 10-8. Welcome into our Jamul Casino Resort Padres postgame show on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. A lot to do on our postgame coverage. We have all the radio highlights for you from this one. We'll hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen and much, much more as the Padres improve to 17-8. They'll head to Mexico City, enjoy an off day there tomorrow before 2 games against the Diamondbacks on Saturday and Sunday. Rockies dropped to 10-16. The Padres trailed 8-4 going to the 8th inning. They end up scoring 1 in the 8th inning, 5 in the 9th inning to win it 10-8. What a comeback win for the Padres here tonight. Again, the big swing in that 9th inning, Gavin Sheets on his 30th birthday. What a birthday present from Gavin to all of San Diego today. Not the other way around, but a pretty good birthday present to himself as well. A big go-ahead 3-run home run gives the Padres a 10-8 lead. And then Mason Miller, the save in the 9th inning. We'll get to what that means in just a moment. Our post-game coverage, as always, brought to you by Jamul Casino Resort. Hey, player, need a little me time? Jamul Spa was just named one of the top 100 spas in America. Jamul Casino Resort, the player's place. Well, this was a really interesting game, I think, for a lot of reasons, and we'll get to the way it ended and the Padres come back in a moment. But for most of this Thursday afternoon, things were not going great from a Padres standpoint. Matt Waldron had a tough start. He did go 5 innings, but he gave up 6 runs. Every time in this game, the Padres punched, the Rockies punched back. And every time the Padres cut into their deficit after trailing 5-2, the Rockies would extend it. Just felt like the Padres weren't going to generate enough offense to win this game, especially when it was 8-4 in the 8th inning. Even when it was 8-5 heading to the 9th inning, it looked dubious that they would be able to generate enough offense with some of these big guys struggling to win this game. But the Padres in the early part of this season, now nearly a month into the year, if there's one thing you can say about them, if there's one thing they've defined themselves with, it is quite simply this. They are finding ways to win baseball games. It hasn't always been pretty. Offensively, wasn't always pretty in this series, has not always been pretty on this road trip. But here's the bottom line. You look up, they're 17-8, and they've won 15 of their last 18 games in 6 consecutive series. So you can pick apart whatever you want. Some of the starting pitching in this series, not great. Some of the offense in this series and on this road trip, not great. All those things can be true. But my goodness, from an identity standpoint, they are finding ways somehow to win baseball games. And at the end of the day, that's the thing that matters. And they're 17-8. They will, at worst, at the end of the day, it's very early, but be tied for first place in the National League West. And today was as good of an example as any of this team late in a game, and they've been very, very good late in these games, coming back in games, finding late offense, getting a big swing when they need it. Today was a great, great example. They took full advantage against Victor Vodnik in that 9th inning. The early part of the inning, they just pieced it together. A 4-pitch walk issued to Jackson Merrill to start the inning. That was the start of the trouble for Victor Vodnik. But then single by Manny, RBI single by Xander to make it a 2-run game. RBI single by Andujar to make it a 1-run game. And then Gavin Sheets on his birthday pinch hits for Ty France, and he sends one over the right field fence, and it makes it a 10-8 Padres lead, a go-ahead 3-run home run. They simply are finding ways to win. And for that, they deserve a lot of credit. I mean, think about it. At one point today, you're looking at this series, and I'll admit it, I'm sitting here in the studio listening to the game, watching the game, and I'm thinking as they're trailing, man, if they don't come back and win this game, you could make the argument they were lucky they weren't swept in Colorado. They were lucky they weren't swept because they only won Tuesday's game 1-0. And when do you see that? A 1-0 score in Colorado. Typically, you score one run in Colorado, you're not going to win the game. And they did on Tuesday. And then here today, they found a way late to get the runs they needed. This was a classic Coors Field game, as many are, where, hey, yeah, the Rockies are going to score runs. They might put up 6, 7, 8. But you've got to find a way as an offense to go beat them and to go score more. And it took a while today, but they finally came out with the big burst in the 9th inning, scored 5 runs, and it put them over the top. And yes, the narrative of this series very much changed from, man, you were kind of close to getting swept, to then in my head, and I think many of yours out there as well, you know what? Hey, for most of this series, the offense wasn't clicking, but my goodness, they found a way. And that 9th inning was very, very representative to me of what this team has been the first month of the season. They are finding ways to win. I know it sounds like the most cliche line in the world, but how else do you put it? They're finding ways, whether it's late, whether it's with a big hit. There's a lot of different ways they've won these games in this 18-game span. I mean, they are 15-3 in an 18-game stretch. And that's hard to do in Major League Baseball. So you can slice it up any way you want. They're finding a way. And that's what they did today. The offense came late, but it came just in time. And sometimes that's okay. And now they'll head to Mexico City for an opportunity to play 2 games in Mexico City on Saturday and Sunday against the Arizona Diamondbacks. This was a really good game, really entertaining game, and certainly one of the more memorable swings we've had so far this season, certainly on the road. The home run by Gavin Sheets in the 9th inning. And they took advantage of a guy in Victor Vodnik who, again, issued that 4-pitch walk to Jackson Merrill to begin that inning. And when that happened, I think a lot of us are probably sitting there saying, man, you don't want to do that. A 4-pitch walk, you're just asking for trouble. And the singles after that by Machado, Bogarts, and Andujar, it's not like they tore the cover off the ball, but they found holes, and then it set up Sheets with the heroics with the big swing and the home run that kind of put him over the top. So a great win for the Padres today. Ends up being, I think, a really good series win, depending on how it could have went. Had a couple of things gone differently. Would have been kind of a tough series loss in Colorado. You don't want to lose 2 out of 3 to this Rocky team, despite them being, I think, quite a bit better than they were a year ago. But ultimately, a good rubber game win in Colorado. And again, you look up on April 23rd, the Padres are 17-8. They're 15-3 in their past 18 games, and they've won 6 consecutive series. Has it all been perfect? Has it all been pretty? No. But I'll say this. They are showing the trait of a really good team, and that is they're just finding a way to win baseball games. It's early, but that's a really, really good identity to build early in a season. And today, as good of an example of that identity as any. Let's step aside. When we come back, all the radio highlights for you. We'll hear from Craig Stammen coming up a little bit later as well. Final score in Denver as the Padres win 2 out of 3 from the Rockies. The Padres 10 and the Rockies 8. We have the radio highlights for you after this. Casino Resort Padres post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Final score on this Thursday afternoon, Padres 10 and the Rockies 8. Bringing you up until today's edition of Gwynn and Chris. That'll come your way at some point in the 4 p.m. hour. We'll see how long exactly I go with our post-game coverage. Maybe get to some phone calls a little bit later. We'll hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen coming up a little bit later as well. This was a good ball game in Denver. You want to talk about back and forth. You want to talk about a late inning rally. Let's run it back.
Which moments determine the outcome of today's game? We'll paint you a picture with our game highlights on the Padres Radio Network.
After right-hander Ryan Feltner tossed a 1-2-3 inning to begin his day for the Rockies, right-hander Matt Waldron took the mound in the bottom half of the first inning for San Diego. The second batter he faced was Mickey Moniak.
This pitch hit in the air, high and deep down the right field line. Fernando back to the corner. He's going to watch, and it's going to go. Home run for Moniak. Breaking ball just kind of hung up enough, and Moniak able to golf it down the right field line over the tall wall. His 7th home run of the season, and the Rockies take a 1-0 lead in the bottom of the first.
Padres trailed 1-0 going to the second. They responded against Feltner. Manny Machado hit a leadoff single. Xander Bogaerts walked. Miguel Andujar then belted a double that had hit off the base of the left field wall. 2 runs scored. Padres had a 2-1 lead on a 2-run, 2-bagger for Miguel Andujar. In the bottom half of the second, Waldron got the first 2 outs of the inning, but then Jake McCarthy doubled. Edward Julien hit an RBI single to tie the game at 2, then a single, a 2-run double for TJ Rumfield, a walk, an RBI single for Troy Johnston. The Rockies put together a 4-run second inning on 5 hits. They had a 5-2 lead through 2. It was still 5-2 going to the 4th inning. At that point, righty Zach Agnos was on the mound for Colorado. Pitching in his 2nd inning of work, Agnos came in after Ryan Feltner left the game with tricep tightness. Jake Cronenworth reached with a 2-out single. Ramon Laureano was next for San Diego.
1-2 again. 6th pitch of the at-bat on the way, and a hard hit liner into center field. McCarthy coming in, trying to play it on a hop. It skips behind him, and it's going to roll all the way towards the warning track. Cronenworth scores easily. Laureano on his way to third. He'll stop there, and the Padres get a run. It's 5-3, and now Fernando will come to bat representing the potential tying run.
So the Padres getting a little bit closer. That would be all they would score in the 4th inning. Rockies scratched across a run in the bottom half of the 4th. Edward Julien hit a leadoff triple. He would eventually score on a safety squeeze. That gave the Rockies a 6-3 lead. In the top of the 5th inning, Xander Bogaerts got the Padres a little bit closer again.
3-2, the pitch on the way. And Bogaerts swings, hits it in the air, deep down the left field line. Moniak back to the corner. This one, gonna go! A home run for Xander Bogaerts. His 4th of the year, a solo shot here in the 5th inning, and once again, a 2-run game.
So a 2-run game. Waldron would get through 5 innings. He left with the Padres down 6-4. Adrian Morejon came on for the bottom of the 6th inning. He got the first 2 outs, but then it was Mickey Moniak again.
Morejon ready, the 2-2. Moniak swings, sends it in the air, high and deep to right center field. Merrill back to watch. That's all he can do. Into the bullpen, a home run. Mickey Moniak with his 2nd of the day, his 8th of the year, 4 of which have come against the Padres, and it's 7-4.
Rockies scored another run against Ron Marinaccio in the 7th inning. That made it an 8-4 Colorado lead, but the Padres wouldn't go down quietly. In the top of the 8th inning against Rockies reliever Juan Mejia, they put 2 on with 2 out for Ramon Laureano.
Cronenworth and Fermin will be off. Here is the 9th pitch of the at-bat, and a hard-hit grounder through the right side base hit. Fermin rounding third, he will score. Cronenworth pulls up at 2nd. It's an RBI single for Ramon Laureano in a battle at bat, and now 8-5 with Tatis coming up representing the potential tying run.
That brought Fernando Tatis Jr. to the plate. Like Jesse said, the Rockies went to righty Victor Vodnik to face him. Vodnik struck out Tatis. The inning was over. The Padres still trailed 8-5. Good job by Ron Marinaccio in the bottom half of the 8th inning, keeping it a 3-run deficit because we went to the 9th inning. Padres still down by 3, 8-5. They rallied against Vodnik, who was still on the mound, looking for a 4-out save. Jackson Merrill drew a 4-pitch walk to start the inning. Manny Machado singled. That got Merrill to second base. Xander Bogaerts was next.
First pitch coming. Bogart swings, bangs it on the ground up the middle, into center and a base hit. Merrill rounding third on his way. Doyle's throw will go to third base. RBI single Xander Bogaerts. It's 8-6. Still nobody out in the 9th inning.
Padres keeping the line moving. Next up, Miguel Andujar.
1-2 strikes to Andujar. The pitch. Miguel swings. It's a ground ball. That's going to get through the right side and a base hit. Machado rounding third. Johnston comes up throwing to the plate. He is in safely with a feet-first slide. A 1-run game here in the top of the 9th inning. Runners on the corners and still nobody out.
So the Padres had the tying run 90 feet away. The go-ahead run on first base, Gavin Sheets, who turned 30 years old today, the birthday boy, dug in.
First pitch, Sheets swings, hits it in the air, deep down the right field line. This one way back, gonna go! A birthday blast for number 30 on his 30th. A 3-run homer to put the Padres ahead in the top of the 9th inning.
What a moment, what a swing, what a birthday for Gavin Sheets. A furious 9th inning rally as the Padres scored 5 runs before they ever committed an out in that 9th inning. How about that? A 5-run 9th inning. Sheets giving the Padres a 10-8 lead. They took that 2-run lead into the bottom half of the 9th inning, and guess who was waiting in the bullpen? Right-hander Mason Miller. He got Freeman to ground out for out number 1. He then gave up a single to Johnston. That put the tying run at the plate in Ezequiel Tovar with 1 man away.
The one pitch grounded to third base. And he's got it, goes to second one. Cronenworth's turn to first is in time, and a game-ending double play. Mason Miller does it again, and a great come-from-behind win for the Padres. A 5-run top of the 9th inning as they come to Denver and take 2 out of 3 to break the Rockies' hearts. Gavin Sheets, a go-ahead 3-run homer on his 30th birthday in the 9th inning, and the Padres take this one by a final of 10-8.
An amazing comeback for the Padres on this Thursday as they win 2 out of 3 in Denver. A furious rally in the 9th inning against Victor Vodnik. Gavin Sheets, the go-ahead 3-run home run. And oh, by the way, Mason Miller, amazingly, didn't have a strikeout in that 9th inning, but Mason did pick up his 9th save of the season. He's now 9 for 9 in save opportunities. And with that scoreless inning, Mason Miller has now tied Clay Meredith for the longest consecutive scoreless inning streak in Padres franchise history. His scoreless inning streak is now up to 33 2/3 innings, going back to August 6th of 2025. So all Mason needs now is 1 more out to set that new consecutive scoreless inning streak franchise record in Padres history. So now Clay Meredith, who pitched 33 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings back in 2006, and Mason Miller, who has now done it between 2025 and 2026. They are now tied for the longest consecutive scoreless inning streak in Padres franchise history. Just a little cherry on top to what was a very, very good and exciting win for the Padres in Colorado today. Final totals here today for the Padres: 10 runs, 13 hits, no errors. For the Rockies, 8 runs, 14 hits, and 2 errors. The Padres improved to 17-8. The Rockies dropped to 10-16. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. We have our full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up a little bit later as well. We'll take your phone calls a little bit later, 833-288-0973. Phone number to call, 833-288-0973 if you want to get involved. We hear from the Padres skipper when we return on the Padres Radio Network. Padres win it 10-8 on this Thursday afternoon as the Padres win 2 out of 3 in Colorado. Padres have won 6 consecutive series, and they've won 15 of their last 18 games. They have been playing some very, very good baseball as of late. They improved to 17-8 on the season as they use a 5-run top of the 9th inning to come back and stun the Rockies today in the rubber game of this series by a final of 10-8. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. We'll hear from Craig Stammen in just a moment, so stay tuned for that. If you want to call in, 833-288-0973, phone number to call. Again, 833-288-0973, the phone number. If you would rather chime in on social media, tell me what you thought about today's game, the way the Padres are playing right now. You can do that by finding me on X at Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV. Instagram DMs open as well. Sammy Lev there too. You can also comment on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream, and may just react to your comments here on the air. For the Blue Sky people out there, I've got to think about the Blue Sky people out there. What's my handle on there? It's like Sammy Lev something. I'm not looking it up right now. Search Sam Levitt, Sammy Levitt. You'll find it. Those in the know will know where I am on Blue Sky. Well, quite a ball game here today, and really indicative of the type of team the Padres have been in the early part of 2026, battling, finding ways to win. I know all those cliche things, but it's been true the early part of this season. They have not been a perfect team, certainly offensively in this series. It was not perfect starting pitching-wise in this series. It was not perfect. I said it in the opening segment of our post-game coverage today. You're sitting there when they're trailing 8-4 going into the 8th inning thinking, hey, if they don't come back and win this game, you could make the argument they were awfully close to getting swept in this series, because yesterday they lose the game 8-3. Offense doesn't do a whole lot. Walker Buehler has a tough outing. And then on Tuesday, they only scored 1 run on a bases-loaded walk, and they were very fortunate that Randy Vasquez and Jason Adam and Adrian Morejon were as good as they were to protect a 1-0 lead at Coors Field, of all places. And then you're looking at it today, trailing 8-4 going into the 8th inning. But Padres get a run in the 8th inning, and then they score 5 in the 9th inning, including a go-ahead 3-run home run by Gavin Sheets. And quite frankly, totally turned around, I think, what the narrative of this series would have been, and is another good illustration of the Padres in the early part of this year having an identity of just sort of figuring it out game by game on how to win these games, and winning them really in all different types of ways. They have been a tough team early in this season. A lot of games so far where you feel like they're almost out, but they find a way to pull you back in and ultimately win the game. And ultimately, they've won 15 out of 18 and are sitting at 17-8 to begin the season. That is an excellent start to 2026. With all that in mind, let's go back to Coors Field in Denver. Here's some post-game reaction.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres skipper Craig Stammen. Served up by Sinley Food. If you've had better chicken, you must be a rooster.
Pretty gratifying example of just keep putting together at bats and it'll happen.
Yeah, it was, we just, kept it going, got guys on base. We weren't coming up through with a big hit. Felt like we had a lot of chances during the game. Even though we were down, we felt like we were in the game. And then, all of a sudden, Coors Field shows up in the 9th inning and gives us one today.
Did you feel like you'd been cheated the first couple of games that you hadn't been able to manage a Coors Field game?
Not at all. In fact, the first game was very enjoyable, very calm game. Today, part of it is just kind of let the hitters hit and just see what happens, let the ball bounce around and find holes and stuff like that. But the credit to those guys in the clubhouse for battling, not giving up, taking good at bats no matter what the score is.
What was it like in the dugout the second Sheets connected?
Yeah, that was pretty wild. That was, the way the guys spilled out of the dugout, that was reminiscent of a winter ball game, a World Baseball Classic game. It was just cool to see the energy from our guys, and just that they were locked in, that, they could come back and believed in it.
You were going to stick with Matt because it's Coors Field and your bullpen and everything. I mean, you didn't have anybody up or anything. What was your kind of thought about we need to get Matt through something?
Yeah, we did. We used a lot of bullpen yesterday. We had enough today to get through it, but we had to get to a certain point. And just trust Waldy in that situation. And even like after that second inning, he came in and goes, "Leave me in the game. I'm going to get the job done. And just for a pitcher to say that in Coors Field, it's real easy to be like, get me out of here. I don't have my stuff. It's tough to pitch in the altitude. And he said, no, I got the team. I'm going to pick them up. If anything, I'm going to save the bullpen, but I'm going to keep us in the game. So it was pretty awesome that, he was able to articulate that in the moment and then back it up.
Are there new ways to talk about Miller as he continues to add on?
Yeah. He able to do it in Coors Field. Yeah. That's not an easy spot to throw a scoreless inning. As you saw, we had a lot of really good pitchers come into games over the last 3 days and weren't able to come out with a scoreless inning, and almost like giving up 1 run in Coors is actually a good inning in my mind. And so that's limiting the damage. And he came in a big situation in the 9th and closed it down for us.
All right. Thanks, Craig. Thank you.
Yep, you got it. Thank you.
All right, that was Padres manager Craig Stammen following this 10-8 win for the Padres in Colorado. Sam Levitt back with you inside our San Diego studios as we continue to wrap this one up. I do want to focus on the Matt Waldron part of this game because, it's funny. Sometimes you can't really zoom out and tell the story of an outing or obviously a game until it's over. Now, Matt Waldron today gives up the home run to Moniak in the first inning, gets the first 2 outs the second, then it becomes a really tough inning, gives up a double, a single, a double, a walk, a single, and all of a sudden the Rockies have a 4-run inning in the second. They take a lead. He gives up 1 more in the 4th inning, has a 1-2-3 5th inning. You look at his line today, it's not going to be pretty. 5 innings, 6 runs given up, 8 hits, a home run. But you know what? I'll say this about the outing by Matt Waldron today. When you actually zoom out and think about what he did, he didn't allow a bad start to spiral totally out of control. And when you take this game in the big picture, look at Coors Field. When the Rockies score 8 runs, and we talked about this yesterday, you are going to be asked as a baseball team to go score 9, to go score 10, like the Padres did today. That's the reality of playing in Denver. You are going to have games where even your best starting pitcher will struggle. You're going to have games where you give up 8, 9, 10 runs. And guess what? You're going to have to go score more. That's the way it kind of works on a lot of days at Coors Field. And what Matt Waldron, was he great today? No. But what he did do is he did not allow the start to spiral completely out of control. And even after he had given up 5 runs in 2 innings today, he gave up 1 run the rest of the way. He gave up 1 run in his final 3 innings and gets through 5. And you know what? When you zoom out and you look at how this game transpired and the fact that the Padres were at least close enough in the late innings to make a comeback, the fact that he bared down a little bit in those final 3 innings of his start, that was a big deal. I think the expectations sometimes at Coors Field are a little bit different. Okay, sometimes, you may give up a bunch of early runs. But then it becomes more about, hey, you got to keep your offense around. You got to keep them in vicinity and not let it spiral out of control. Because guess what? If Matt Waldron, instead of giving up 6 runs in 5 innings, gives up 10 runs in 5 innings, the Padres, in all likelihood, don't win this game. But the fact that he kept them in the neighborhood, kept them in the vicinity, ultimately plays a big role in why the Padres won this game today. So, look, again, I just think at Coors Field, you have to view it through a little bit of a different lens. And was Matt Waldron great today? Is he going to be thrilled about 2 starts into his season in the major leagues, having a 12.46 ERA? No. I can't imagine Matt Waldron is jumping for joy after his first 2 starts on this road trip. But if you zoom out a little bit and you really look to understand the course of the game and how this played out today, guess what? The fact that it wasn't 10 runs in 5 innings and it was 6 runs in 5 innings, that actually ended up being a very, very big deal today. And quite frankly, one of the reasons the Padres won this game. Let's step aside. When we come back, we'll get into the bullpen today, what they did. If you want to get a phone call in, 833-288-0973. Phone number to call, again, 833-288-0973. The phone number, full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, and much, much more to do as the Padres have a comeback comeback win in Colorado today, a 5-run top of the 9th inning. They stunned the Rockies 10-8 to win this 3-game series, and our post-game coverage continues after these words.
Sid's Carpet.
Our Jamul Casino Resort Padres post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Final score here today is the Padres score 5 runs in the top of the 9th inning. They beat the Rockies 10-8 to take 2 out of 3 in this 3-game series in Colorado. Padres now en route to Mexico City. They'll have an off day tomorrow in Mexico City and then 2 games in Mexico City on Saturday and Sunday. We'll talk more about those games against the Arizona Diamondbacks coming up in just a little bit. We'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, our play of the game in a bit. We'll also get to some of your phone calls here in a second at 833-288-0973. I like this comment on YouTube here on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel. It was Joseph writing, the Friars may not have much slug, but they show grit and heart nearly every night. Go Padres. Joseph watching from Brazil. All right, Joseph, thank you for tuning in. You know, I want to start with the latter part of that comment. Joseph is totally right, and it goes back to what I've said now a couple of times in our post-game coverage today. Look, this team is finding ways, and it sounds as cliche can be, but they are just finding ways to win. They're 17-8. They've won 15 of 18. Has everything been perfect? No. In fact, this series was far from perfect. There was a point in this game where they were pretty close to getting swept in this series if they didn't come back to win this game, and they lost 2 out of 3 because they only won 1-0 on Tuesday night, and they were probably fortunate to win a 1-0 game on Tuesday night considering what the offense didn't do. But they are simply finding ways to win, which is no doubt a trait of a good ball club, a trait of a really good ball club. And here on April 23rd, I don't know that you can ask for much more than your team, A, showing fight, and B, finding ways to win ball games. Number one, it helps you bank wins, and number two, it helps you build an identity, which I think over the course of 162 is really, really important. I had a great conversation with Nick Castellanos a couple of weeks ago about exactly that. And one of the things Nick said to me essentially was, you can build the identity of being a tough team early in a season, but if you don't really have that trait when you get into the summertime, can be hard to then build it in the middle of the year. But there's no doubt you can build that in the early part of the year, build the ability to come back in games, the belief to come back in games. And no doubt the Padres have shown that the first few weeks of this season, almost the first full month of this season. Now, I do want to address the other part of Joseph's comment, because look, over the course of a long year, yes, the Padres are going to need Manny to get going. They're going to need Fernando to get going. They're going to need Jake Cronenworth to get going. They're going to need Jackson Merrill to get going. And specifically, those guys, and I look at Fernando and Manny, I think right now in particular, they're going to need those guys to slug and hit the ball over the fence and be more run producers. That's absolutely true over the course of a long year. And I think for the Padres to ultimately get where they want to go. But in the meantime, you can very well argue the fact that they've played as well, that the record is what it is, despite those guys not clicking on all cylinders yet, but despite clearly Fernando not playing at his best, Manny playing at his best, so on and so on. You can make the argument the fact that they're 17-8 is a really good thing, because it doesn't feel like they've really been firing on all cylinders yet. So two things can be true at once, as I always say, like a famous line here on the post-game coverage. What the Padres have done the early part of this season has been great. They are showing grit, fight, and just finding ways to win. But yeah, in the long run, are they going to have to slug a little bit more? Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Are they going to have to get the guys like Fernando and Manny going a lot more? Yes, they're going to need it. But for now, they have found a way to pick up a lot of wins without that happening, and that is indeed a very good sign. Let's tell you about today's relief pitcher of the game.
Which pitcher entered the game and slammed the door shut? This is today's relief pitcher of the game, brought to you by San Diego criminal defense attorney David P. Shapiro. We help good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime. Learn more at davidpshapirolaw.com.
Marinaccio delivers, and ground ball slowly to the right side. Cronenworth collects it right at the edge of the infield dirt, and they throw to first in time to end the inning. So Marinaccio, nice job keeping the Rockies from adding on.
Yeah, and Jesse taking the words right out of my mouth. Ron Marinaccio, our relief pitcher of the game, because he did exactly that in this game. Marinaccio did give up a run in the seventh inning that made it an 8-4 game. But you know what? Then in the bottom half of the eighth inning, puts up a 0, keeps it an 8-5 game. And at least Ron Marinaccio, we talked about it earlier, with Matt Waldron not having a great outing today, but keeping the Padres in the neighborhood of being able to win this game in kind of what became a Coors Field classic. Ron Marinaccio did the same thing to me. Was he perfect? No. Gave up a run on 4 hits, but he did put together a scoreless eighth inning, and he kept the Padres in it. And at Coors Field, sometimes that's just good enough. And it ended up being good enough because of what they did in the ninth inning. So for that reason, Ron Marinaccio, our relief pitcher of the game, and by the way, picks up his first win of the season as well as he improves to 1-0. Is that Ron's first win as a Padre? My gut says it is. Let me double check that. And it is. Oh, hey, how about that? Ron Marinaccio with his first win as a Padre and his first win since 2024. So nice job by Ron Marinaccio. Again, not perfect, but kept the Padres in it. And after they had made it a 3-run deficit by getting a run in the eighth inning, he kept it at 3 runs. That was really, really important. And also, we need to mention Mason Miller, now 9 for 9 in save opportunities, a scoreless ninth inning, and Mason tying the Padres record, franchise record, for consecutive scoreless innings with his scoreless inning today. His scoreless inning streak is now up to 33 2/3 innings, tying Clay Meredith, who put together 33 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings back in 2006. Let's tell you about the heart of the order.
Let's take the pulse of the Padres and check in on the Heart of the Order, presented by Palomar Health, the official healthcare provider of 97.3 The Fan. Palomar Health, leading with heart for every patient. Palomar Health is reimagining healthcare.
3-2, the pitch on the way. And Bogart swings, hits it in the air, deep down the left field line. Moniak back to the corner. This one, gonna go! A home run for Xander Bogaerts. His 4th of the year, a solo shot here in the 5th inning, and once again, a 2-run game.
Xander Bogaerts defining the heart of the order today. Xander had a big day overall. Heart of the order, Jackson Merrill, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, 3, 4, 5 spots. Merrill went 0 for 3, did walk and score a run. Manny went 2 for 5 with a couple of singles, 2 runs scored. But the big day for the X-Man, 2 hits, including a home run, 2 RBIs, 3 runs scored. So all in all, 4 hits, 6 runs scored, a home run, and a couple of RBIs for the 3, 4, 5 spots, Merrill, Manny, and Xander. And look, Xander by far and away had the best offensive series of anybody in Colorado this week. Xander Bogaerts had 5 hits in 11 at-bats, a home run, 2 RBIs. He walked a couple of times. He ended up scoring 3 runs. And Xander's been very, very good the last 15, 16 games or so. I'll give you his overall numbers in that stretch in our next segment. Give me a second to confirm them, look him up. But he's been good. He's been really, really good as of late. So a big series for Xander. And, hey, the home run that we just heard in the 5th inning, yes, got the Padres, got him to within 2 at the time. And then the early theme of this game, the Rockies, every time the Padres cut into the deficit, the Rockies added on. So it was a little, back and forth for a while there. But Xander ultimately, providing quite a bit of offense both here today and in this series, and certainly leading the way for the Padres' heart of the order today. All right, let's get a few phone calls in. 833-288-0973, phone number to call. Let's go to Charles in Ramona. Charles, you're on the Padres radio network on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome in.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. I just want, what a win. I mean, this team, no matter, it was not looking good. This whole series, really, even the first win, it just didn't feel very good because of how badly the offense is doing. But more to your point, the way we're coming through and the way everybody is contributing. I love how Stammen is using his roster. He's not sitting on his bench players and then they sit for a month and then come in to give a guy a day off. So and then do an offer because they've been sitting for the better part of a month. He's keeping everybody fresh. And if we can continue to win games without our best players playing their best, just imagine how much better this team's going to be when everybody is coming around, and if our offense can keep it up, it can pick up some of the slack when it comes to starting pitching.
Absolutely.
So,
Charles, appreciate the phone call. Thank you. Look, I'm with you. They're finding ways, as cliche as it sounds. They're simply finding ways to win. I think you're spot on. I think Craig's done a really nice job at keeping everybody involved. Really, really nice job. And that has been a strategy that's been honestly a lot different than what we had with Mike Shildt last year. I mean, not that Mike didn't get the bench involved. I'm not saying that. Also, I think in fairness to Mike, I think this bench is quite a bit better than where it was at the start of last year. But Mike Shildt, it was very much more a rigid lineup, rigid roles. There was not the flexibility that Craig Stammen has shown in the early part of this season. I mean, last year with Mike Shildt, and I'm not, knocking Mike. I'm not saying one's necessarily better than the other. Look, Mike Shildt won 93 games, 90 games, got the team to the postseason 2 years in a row. Okay, it's April 23rd. Okay, so I'm not going to sit here and make grand proclamations about the managers. Okay, Mike had a lot of success here. Okay, let's be fair about it. However, his style and his approach to this point was very different than Craig's. Craig, number one, is essentially making guys take days off. He is mixing up his lineup in a way that we never saw Mike Shildt do. And also, he's just not afraid to get guys involved and for the sake of getting them involved. And look, to this point, the record's the record. They're 17-8. It's worked as far as wins and losses. And look, the fact that a guy like Gavin Sheets, even on a day where he's not starting, gets a couple at bats, it worked out great today. Now, there was an obvious spot to pinch hit him against a righty for France, but it worked out great today. And pushing the right button at the right time and getting Sheets in the game ultimately, provided major dividends for Craig Stammen and the Padres today. But look, there's no arguing with the record right now. 17-8. It's been a very different style of managing and lineup construction and getting guys involved and off days. But they've done I think that involvement, 26 men on the roster being involved, I think to this point, it has clearly been a good thing. And it's led to winning baseball, which is the most important thing. Let's go to Rod calling in. Rod, you're on the Padres Radio Network. Welcome in.
Sam, it's great to talk to you. And I called earlier before, but right after the game, I've been on hold since. But I just wanted to share with you the experience in the car. Before that, it was at work. Come on, coworkers, let's go. Let's go have some pizzas and beer. Paulo, let's go. We're going to rally this game. We're going to get back to this W. And sure enough, nobody wanted to go. So keep the faith, San Diego. And if you could allow me to please get the shout out and thank you to Jamul Casino for sponsoring this segment. I got the Rodettes right here too, Sam. They want to say hi. Say hi to Sam, girls.
Hi. Hey, and the Rodettes.
The Rodettes are in the house. Sam, I was at the car wash going bananas when that Holy Sheets home run went over the wall with Tony Gwynn. Oh, I love that, Tony. Keep it going. Sam, love you. Shout out to the chat fam and all the levitators on the radio.
All right.
Keep the faith, everybody.
Love it. Okay, good call, Rod. Appreciate it. Rod bringing it all out there. Rod and the Rodettes. He's got the levitators involved. I like it, Rod. Yeah, come on. If you're at work today, you're sitting there. I get it. You're down 3 heading into the 9th inning, but you got to have a little faith. Go get the pizza. Go get the beer. Watch the end of the game. You never know. You never know. It's like if you were at Petco Park a handful of nights ago, whenever that was last week. Padres down 6-0, down big in the 9th inning. You can't leave. You got to hang around. You got to stick around. You never know what you might see, and especially with the way this team has come back in games in the early part of this season. Let it be a lesson. Stay tuned. Keep listening. Stay at the ballpark. Padres win it 10-8, a 5-run 9th inning to stun the Rockies to win this series. All right, let's step aside. When we come back, full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, our play of the game. We'll squeeze in a few more phone calls as well at 833-288-0973, and then we'll flip things over to today's edition of Gwynn and Chris. Our Jamul Casino Resort Padres postgame show continues after this. Padres win it on this Thursday afternoon. Final score in Colorado, Padres 10 and the Rockies 8 as the Padres win 2 out of 3 from the Rockies. They'll head on to Mexico City for the third leg of this road trip. Padres improved to 17-8 on the season. Rockies dropped to 10-16. Sam Levitt with you here inside our San Diego studios as we welcome you back into our Jamul Casino Resort Padres post-game show here on the Padres Radio Network. Hey, player. The rooftop pool's open, day passes are available, and the spa is calling your name. Jamul Casino Resort, the Players' Place. We'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard in a moment. We'll have today's play of the game. I bet you can guess what that's going to be after what we witnessed in the ninth inning today. The Padres with a furious 5-run ninth inning to stun the Rockies 10-8 in Denver this afternoon, but let's squeeze in one more phone call here on our post-game coverage. And by the way, we are going to flip things over to today's edition of Gwynn and Chris when we get off the air. That should come your way. What do you think, Nick Danucci, our great board operator? I'd say it about 10 minutes. About 10 minutes. 10 minutes or so. You know, we'll see how much longer I go here, how much more I want to just talk and talk and talk, take up the airwaves, take up your drive home. I see all of you sitting in traffic on the 15. If you love me, that's good for you. If you don't, I'm sorry. Let's go to Mario. Mario calling in on the Padres Radio Network. Mario, welcome in. How you doing?
How you doing, Sammy? First time caller here. I just want to put something out there. I've been looking at this ABS system that they have implemented on baseball, and I was wondering, since I keep on hearing that they're trying to shorten the game, make it a little shorter, implement different things to shorten the game out. Why don't they just make the ABS a permanent thing for every inning? It seems that system is very accurate, and it will keep, it'll probably short out the game by not having pitch more pitches that they need to, and move the game along.
Yeah, Mario.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, Mario, appreciate the phone call. It's a good question. And look, you might be onto something. I wouldn't say it's impossible that we see that at some point. It's been tested in the minor leagues before. There have been leagues outside the United States that have already implemented basically robot umpires. I mean, if you want to just call it that, full technology for umpiring, balls and strikes. It may come. I mean, look, for a few years, we heard about the challenge system. It was tested out last spring training, and then it became clear that it was going to be implemented here in 2026. And I think it's been a huge success. And look, I don't think it adds on a ton of time to these games. Does it add on a little bit every time there's a challenge? And there's a lot of them in these games. 15, 20 seconds to execute the challenge. It does. It adds on time. And you're right. It does, I guess, in a really small way, go against all these rules and regulations that Major League Baseball has implemented the last few years to speed up the game. And it has sped up the game in a major way. So you're right. It does go against that a little bit. Is it going to happen? A full automatic ball strike system where literally what it would be is you have an umpire behind the plate who's got an earpiece, and they're being told what it is via the technology. Was it a ball? Was it a strike? And they just make the motion, and they're not actually making the call. That's the way it looks right now when this is implemented. We might see it. I'll give you my thought on it just quickly here, a minute thought on it. I don't want it. Number one, I like the challenge system. I think it adds excitement. I think it's the perfect blend of human element and also giving players an ability to disagree with a call and go to technology to make the call right. Now, the counter to that would be to say, Sam, well, if they have the technology, why don't they just implement it? Shouldn't every call be right? I would say to you, I don't have a great response to that. I don't have anything that's going to really change your mind other than to say, I'm just talking for myself as a baseball fan. I like the human element of it. To me, the game does not have to be this perfect thing. It's a game. It's a sport. Now, it's a game and a sport with a lot of money involved in a lot of ways. But to me, it doesn't have to be perfect. To me, the challenge system is kind of the perfect blend of using technology while also keeping some of the core elements of what the game is from an umpiring standpoint. That's my opinion. You might be out there disagreeing. There are probably people that are in baseball, both in Major League Baseball with teams, players that would totally disagree. That's my opinion on it. But Mario, it may happen. I mean, who would have thought a decade ago that we would see a clock, a pitch clock? Who would have thought we would have seen challenges? I mean, all these things, we forget how radical this all seemed just a decade, 15 years ago. This stuff happens really quick. And guess what? When it happens, players adapt, fans seem to adapt, and we move on, and it becomes part of the game. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Thursday.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We have a number of finals already today. Dodgers beat the Giants 3-0 in San Francisco. Tyler Glasnow, Tanner Scott combining for a one-hitter today against the Giants at Oracle Park. White Sox beat the Diamondbacks 4-1 in Arizona. Andrew Benintendi hit a tie-breaking 3-run home run in the ninth inning in that game for Chicago as the White Sox win it 4-1. Ooh, it is rough for the Phillies right now. They get walked off on today by the Cubs. They lose 8-7 in 10 innings. The walk-off hit for the Cubs was a Dansby Swanson walk-off single. The Phillies have lost 9 games in a row. They are 8-17. I mean, that is a veteran, supposedly good team in Philadelphia. They're 8-17. By the way, another team in their division just had a 12-game losing streak snap last night, and the Mets and the Phillies have now lost 9 in a row. Yikes. Tigers beat the Brewers in walk-off fashion today. Bottom half of the ninth inning, a walk-off home run for Spencer Torkelson as the Tigers beat the Brewers 5-4. Braves beat the Nationals 7-2 in D.C. We've got a number of games going on right now. Red Sox ahead of the Yankees 2-1 at Fenway in the fifth inning. Twins ahead of the Mets in New York in the first inning 1-0. And just one game yet to begin today. Pirates and the Rangers in Arlington coming up at 5:05. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Thursday afternoon. Well, the Padres trailed 8-4 in today's game in Colorado, heading into the eighth inning. They had an RBI single by Ramon Laureano in the eighth inning to make it 8-5. They trailed 8-5 with Victor Vodnik on the mound in the ninth inning, and that's when the party started. Jackson Merrill drew a 4-pitch walk to begin that ninth inning. Manny Machado singled. Xander Bogaerts an RBI single to make it a 2-run game. Miguel Andujar an RBI single to make it a 1-run game. The score was Rockies 8, Padres 7. Still nobody out. The Padres had runners on first and third, and then Gavin Sheets, number 30, on his 30th birthday, provided today's play of the game.
One bounce, one hit, one pitch can be the difference between victory and defeat. What was the most important play in today's game? This is today's play of the game. Presented by Bill Howe Plumbing, Heating and Air, Restoration and Flood. We know how.
First pitch, he swings, hits it in the air, deep down the right field line. This one way back, gonna go! A birthday blast for number 30 on his 30th. A 3-run homer to put the Padres ahead in the top of the ninth inning.
When you can't command the fastball, you become predictable. What is Gavin Sheets looking for first pitch? Slider. Exit stage right, 3-run blast for Gavin Sheets, and the Padres has turned this game around all the way.
10-8 San Diego. Holy Sheets.
That was Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr. on the call. We gave you a little extended cut there of the Gavin Sheets home run. Got a lot of good calls there by Jesse. Had the number 30 A home run on his 30th birthday, and of course, the holy sheets at the end there. Well done by Jesse and Tony. Gavin Sheets, a go-ahead home run in the 9th inning, capping that furious 5-run rally, and it puts the Padres ahead 10-8. They go on to win by that final score, the 3rd home run of 2026 for Gavin Sheets. No doubt the swing and play of the game as the Padres win 2 out of 3 in Colorado this week. So what's next for the Padres? Well, they are on the way now to Mexico City. They will take on the Arizona Diamondbacks in Mexico City at Estadio Alfredo Harpe on Saturday and Sunday. Padres will enjoy an off day in Mexico City tomorrow. They have a number of pretty cool events planned for tomorrow, and I'm sure you'll see some of that on social media. So they'll enjoy an off day tomorrow. Number of good events planned for the Padres tomorrow in Mexico City. Then Saturday and Sunday, it'll be the Padres and Diamondbacks pitching matchup on Saturday. Right-hander German Marquez on the mound for the Padres, and right-hander Zach Gallen on the mound for the Arizona Diamondbacks. First pitch from Mexico City on Saturday at 3:05 p.m. Our pregame coverage will begin at 2:05 p.m. with our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. As always, if you missed any portion of our postgame coverage, you can go back and listen to all of it on the Inside San Diego Baseball podcast, available on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcast. You can also go back on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel and watch any portion of our postgame coverage there as well. Taking a look at the final totals here today for the Padres: 10 runs, 13 hits, no errors. They left 9 on base. For the Rockies, 8 runs, 14 hits, 2 errors. They left 7 on base. Winning pitcher today, Ron Marinaccio, who picks up his first win of 2026. He's 1-0, his first win as a Padre as well. Losing pitcher, Victor Vodnik, who drops to 0-2, and the save goes to Mason Miller, his 9th save of the season in as many opportunities, and Mason Miller now running his consecutive scoreless inning streak to 33 2/3 innings going back to August of last year. That is now tied for the longest consecutive scoreless inning streak in Padres franchise history. Time of game today, 3 hours and 6 minutes, and the crowd at Coors Field in Denver, Colorado, 25,973. Once again, first pitch in Mexico City on Saturday at 3:05 p.m. here in San Diego. Our pregame coverage will begin at 2:05. Until then, for our great studio coordinator, Nick Danucci, I'm Sam Levitt saying so long from inside our San Diego studios. Again, the final score today, the San Diego Padres 10 and the Colorado Rockies 8. We'll talk to you on Saturday on the Padres Radio Network. Winning Chris coming up next.